especially in view of a very difficult week. Dave Atherton is a libertarian commentator on political issues ranging from civil liberties to immigration. Dave is known to all of us for his forensic use of facts and fearless approach to public debate. Whether it's defending free speech or critiquing government overreach, Dave brings a very sharp tongue and an even sharper mind. And so, would we please welcome a man whom we're honored to have, Dave Atherton. Stand. Oh, no, stand. Oh, sorry. Come. Take him out there. Right. And our fourth panelist, no stranger to any of us here. I don't know whether we should call him about in the South, since we're all in South Wales. Richard Taylor is the newly appointed leader of Advance UK Wales. Seasoned activist, author and commentator with over 25 years of frontline community work across England and Wales, ranging from addiction recovery to homeless support. If you think Richard's bio is glowing, it's because he sent it to me. But I ain't telling you I wrote it in the first place. Richard has earned national recognition, including the High Sheriff's Award, and as an award-winning author and presenter, he has also made regular appearances on GBU's Talk TV and the BBC. A fierce voice for social justice and grassroots reform. We're happy to return to the panel, Richard Taylor! Now, you know the vicious tradition, so before we all get going, let us just take a moment to reflect and bow our heads in prayer. Let us pray. Almighty God, source of all wisdom, justice, and truth, gather before you this day, seeking clarity, civility,
I'm down there and support there and there. Get a fucking cunt out of the country and there. All nonsense. Yeah.
What are these lot?
This. The ones outside are the ones who want the refugees in the country and that. They're all the fucking. No. No, you thought it was opposite side here. No. Fuck that shit, but this room would be full of jobs, boy.
Compassion and righteousness.
Class.
That's what you were doing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like, man. Top man.
Fucking good, man.
And to the glory of your name. Amen.
Amen.
Right, are we ready? I feel like, what's his face on Gladiators, remember? Contender 1, are you ready? Right, panel, question number 1. Our first topic is illegal immigration and border control. Over the past fortnight, illegal channel crossings have surged again with over 1,000 people arriving almost daily. Despite repeated promises to stop the boats, with public confidence at an absolute all-time low and growing concerns over national security and public service strain, the government appears to be completely out of options. So my first question to you is, has Britain lost control of its borders? And what would it take for any party to restore public trust and enforce a meaningful immigration policy? Catherine, feel free.
Okay, I think the first thing to say is the number of illegals who actually don't come by boat. I mean, we've had these food surveys and sewage surveys for years saying we've got a population of 90 million. Overstaying a tourist visa, overstaying a student visa, coming in a truck. But the two big ones are tourist visas. There are millions of these given out every year. And if we just had, I think I did some numbers on it, I don't have them to hand, but just a few percent, we would have like 500,000 people arrive. My ex-brother-in-law arrived like this, and that was the first time I started getting involved in politics. And not only that, he came as a Nepalese person, threw away his passport, and then claimed he was a Tibetan. And I wrote to the Home Office and got no answer, obviously. So these people are arriving and then getting passports, and the whole thing is just out of control. Even a simple language test would tell us that that person was not Tibetan. So my view is that we have to get a list of people, of countries. The list will be Somalia, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and so on, and we stop issuing all visas to these countries.
Ladies and gentlemen, they will tell you that we've got this migrant crisis and they're going to smash the gangs. We've got intelligence services, MI5, special branch. We've got MI6 for analysing what's going on over the channel. How many gangs have been smashed?
No.
None. I'll give you a clue. There are no gangs. It is organised by the government.
Absolutely.
I'm going to be releasing some evidence next week which would indicate that the boats that they come over on are being shipped back to France for reuse. That will be a bit of a bombshell when it comes out. I uncovered, well, I was told, something I should have known when I was an MP. In 2018, Theresa May apparently signed an agreement, a treaty on our behalf in Istanbul, and there were only about 10 countries who didn't sign it, but he got no publicity, there was no debate in Parliament, and that was to treat basically migrants the same way as refugees. And it puts an onus on the UK and other countries who signed that agreement to facilitate the movement of migrants who wish to come to our country. No wonder they don't want to talk about it. While we've got this in place,
Well, a bunch of racists.
they're facilitating that and they're lying to you about trying to stop the problem. And I think they're also pushing the migrant issues
Got it back.
in the news. I think they actually want civil unrest. I think they want to foment civil unrest, and I think they want it in the next few months, and that will then allow them to have another crackdown on us. And they will tell you that what we need is, all we need to solve this problem is we all need to have digital ID, and then we can identify who the illegal migrants are. They will not be using digital ID to crack down on the migrants. Then get it in, they'll be using digital ID to crack down on you. So the whole fundamental system is completely flawed. There is no intent from either the Conservatives or the Labour Party or Reform to actually solve this problem.
First of all, I'd like to say a huge big thank you to the Voice of Wales for inviting me back once again. You guys do a great job and privileged to be here. Bishop, thank you for moderating as well, and thank you to Coider Club as well for letting us be here. We appreciate the staff as well. Thank you all so much. Whilst the question is around border control, well, I think it's an invasion. It's not a question of good border control. We are being invaded and infiltrated by an ideology, by a religion that is not compatible with our culture. And I also believe that this stems back to the Blair ideas. Blair's project to open up the borders has not ceased. Consecutive governments have failed us, whether that be the Conservatives, the Labour Party, and any incumbent government that's due to be in, likely could possibly be reform. I believe that the ECHR we should have left when we voted for Brexit. That was part of the deal. We did not get Brexit fully done. And I believe we should repeal the Human Rights Act. It gives certain minority groups, such as those coming over the border, the right to be here. They have no right to be here. And companies that are servicing these hotels that are housing these asylum seekers, this should not be happening. We're seeing it right now in Epping. Many of you have seen it on your TV screens. And my good friend Adam Brooks has been journaling that story. He's done a fantastic job. Big shout out to Adam Brooks. And of course, we hear from Sky Park as well on his Leslie Boy. And the other thing, we've got over 15,000 foreign nationals in our prison systems. Now, we are told our prisons are full. Ship them out, deport them, and send them back to their home. And the policy which I think it was Ruth Lowe who said this, Catherine. Well, I know many as well. You know, a quote that I think he mentioned that it's this all out and none in.
It's cold. What's he saying?
You know, the whole idea of the Brit Caravan
Huh?
with him on this is a globalist
No.
agenda.
Clark is not, no. Clark is not my... Clark is not my boyfriend.
They mean the opposite. They always mean the opposite of what they say. They cannot be trusted. So my whole idea on the board is we as a country need to breathe. We are overcapacitated. Our NHS system, education system, over a whole list of public services in the UK. And it's not a question.
Yeah, I just said no when he went on the back. I went, no.
It's a question of capacity. We don't have the room anymore. And putting any other British citizen and others before our own British citizens is an absolute disgrace to this nation.
All right.
Well, it's always difficult following Britain, I must say. So, can we spot places, mate?
Wobbling.
Anyway, bit more serious.
I know.
Immigration is
Fixed position.
important threat. The polite word is existential. If there's two, let me just give you two brief examples from history. The Carib people, as in the Caribbean, in 1500 were about 200,000 people. Through emigration and displacement and things like that, there's only 6,000 of them left in the world this very day. And also, if you look at Texas, Texas was a part of Mexico until 1836. And because there was mass immigration, ironically, of British Americans to Texas, they became a majority in the state of Texas. They revolted in 1836 and became an independent country for 7 years before being absorbed by America. This is the fate that Britain faces. The complete loss of our culture, the complete loss of our way of life, and I'll like to call it Britain. And bring down some specific statistics on immigration. The Swedes looked into people they granted asylum because they were fleeing oppression and fleeing war. They found that 79% have returned home at some time on vacation. These people are coming over to Britain, excuse my French, actually I better not use that word, but they're taking, there wasn't children in the audience, they are taking the mickey out of our taxes, they are taking the mickey out of our goodwill. I'm sorry, this has to stop, or there will be no more Britain.
My hand.
And frankly, the people that arrive at Dover and elsewhere should be rounded up. This is how I would do an immigration interview. Hello, Abdul. Where's your passport? Don't have one. Got any other documentation? No. Right. Asylum refused. The young man is taken away in handcuffs and be deported back to France tomorrow. Indeed, and frankly, if it causes an international incident, so be
You're going to have
it.
to take
I
over a
don't
minute,
care.
kind of a
It
stop.
has to stop now.
If you hold your hand like that and then hold it like that.
Right. I'll hold that train of thought then, Dave, because I've got a follow-up that I want to ask you. As of mid-May, more than 16,000 crossed the channel illegally. 0.4% of all illegal immigrants have been deported, despite a £480 million pledge to France, to the government. They're not doing anything to stop it. So, for each one of you on the panel, would you support, offshore processing, we'll call it that, or a military-led border enforcement like we see in Australia?
I want offshore processing in Afghanistan, Pakistan, Serbia, France and Germany. I don't want it here. And if you are offshore processing, let it be the Outer Hebrides, Georgia, the Falklands, or wherever it might be.
Kind of.
No, I just had enough of it. It costs a fortune. They are a fifth column in this country. I'm sort of reading the jungle drums at the moment. People are expecting some major Islamic atrocities in this country any moment soon. There are more illegal migrants that came through the channel than there are members of the British Army at the moment. We are on a hiding to nothing. We will have 7/7, 9/11, London Bridge, all the other atrocities. That is where we're heading. It's not some wild conspiracy theory. It is something I've been told privately and I've read publicly.
First of all, I wish Keir Starmer would stop holding Macron's willy. Of course, the amount of money that we're paying to the French, and they're not doing absolutely nothing apart from filming and coming here. On the detaining and deporting, I think it's crucial to understand there are laws in our country which we all should abide by. And some of those laws have been curved around by certain people within the judicial system, which, by the way, is two-tiered, as many of you know. We do not have a judicial system that is fair and equal in this country. We are not equal under the law in this country anymore. Ethnic minorities are given priority to our own people. So, Advance UK Wales, which I know that representative here, and it's not quite by the way, but it is, thank you. Just to say that on the detain and deport, absolutely 100%. If you're an undocumented male and you come to this country, we don't know who you are, we don't know what your intentions are. In fact, we've seen some of your intentions, because some of them have committed heinous crimes, sexual offences, the rape gangs, the list goes on. These people do not belong in our great United Kingdom. And so, I believe in detaining them and
Like video.
Now, as to the legality of that, these are some of the issues.
Let this let go.
Andrew has been involved in Parliament much longer. I've never been there, never had the honour of sitting on those green benches. I'm glad I haven't. I'll get kicked out within the first week. But anyway, but suffice to say, I do believe that we need change in this country where we put our own British citizens first. Because we have failed to do that, and it's about time that our Prime Minister, he's not my Prime Minister, but it's about time that our government stood up for its own people first, and we should deport the law.
Well, I said this in general election 2024, and of course I'm considered a far-right, nasty fascist for saying it. But my view is that we can put up enormous buildings in no time at all, on some Hebridean island or even in the south. These people are fed rice and lentils and water. Their phones are taken away, their internet is taken away, their TV is taken away, and they will stay there indefinitely until they tell us what their name is, which country they come from, and they apply to their embassy and get a passport, and they're on the first plane home. If you go to Thailand, you are put in jail if you overstay your visa. Every single country in Asia does that. Some of them will continue to rack up a fine of 20, 30, 40 pounds a day, and until you pay that, you will sit in a rat-infested jail. This thing could be solved tomorrow if the political will was there.
Old men theory.
I saw
They do all the time.
a scientific paper where a university, I think it was in Scandinavia, did a study, and surprise, surprise, the conclusion
I told him I
was,
did. I was like,
I don't think you really need to do the study,
Should
you
I let
all
us
know
behind?
that the more benefits you offer to illegal migrants, the more will come. There is no country that's offering the benefits to illegal migrants that this country is. 4-star hotels, meals, spending money, phones, clothes, internet access, free medical, free dental care, things that people who've paid into our system don't get access to, and we're surprised that they're coming over. I spoke to Rupert Lowe a couple of days ago. I reposted one of his little clips where he talked about detain and deport. Now there's a clue in the name, they're illegal migrants. They're illegal. If you came into this club and someone had broken in over the weekend and they were sitting on the floor, they got no money and they said, I want to be a member and I want you all to have a whip round so I can be a member of your club, I think you'd probably say, well, you're not quite the sort of person we want as a member, but that's what's happening on a massive scale. Detain and deport is what we should be doing. In fact, we should be detaining and prosecuting the Chief Constable of Kent for arresting these people when they get off the boat. And the most important thing is, if we took a harder line, in in line with some of the suggestions we've heard, we wouldn't have to do it for very long, because it's detain, deport and deter. They would not come if it wasn't for the fantastic lifestyle we're offering.
Well, we come to our first audience question. Ready? Right, here we go.
Hey boys and ladies, Donald Trump was in power for 2 weeks and he stopped the immigration within 2 weeks. Then why can't we do that? And apparently now, Greece, as soon as you land, they're going to arrest you and take you away straight away. Why can't we do that? So they break in, Greece are breaking the yeah, they break the rules there. So why can't we do that? Why can't we do what Donald Trump has just done? And he gave us a warning. As soon as he landed in Scotland, he told us Europe and Britain are gone. So why can't we take our country like you can?
So, supplemental to that is, for me to add on to it, is the European Convention on Human Rights now an enemy of the British public, especially in the area of immigration?
Yeah, well, I think we could probably do it. If the political will was there, we could do this stuff. Greece is in the EU and it is doing it. Germany is deporting Syrians as we speak. And we are going to be the very, very last country to do anything at all. And we have this pathetic right at the moment. I mean, we've got Kerry Badenoch, who is a Liberal Democrat, and now we've got Nigel, who's turning into some sort of globalist whatever, who's weak and useless, and worse than that, he's conning everybody. I don't blame the left. The left do what they tell us to do. It's the right that are the problem. They don't do what they say they're going to do.
What parties are up there now?
We've got 5 parties. We've got Advance UK, we've got Reform, and then we've got 2 independents.
My supplemental is the European Convention on Human Rights.
Well, it's a feast for lawyers.
My best party is, and I seen him in Cardiff the other week,
is
Stevie
it?
Wonder. And he started off, loves in need and love today. Everybody loves in need and love, everybody throughout the world.
Absolutely.
Professional
Love wins, isn't it?
in Parliament
Yeah.
is absolutely immense. But the most that the ECHR can do to us is fine us. Wouldn't the fines be a lot less than the money we're paying out every week for these hotels?
So where are you from?
I just go back to the
Sorry.
gentleman's question on Donald Trump.
Hang on.
The reason why we can't do what he's done, he has something called executive powers. So at a strike of a pen, he can do things that we can't. Our democracy is slightly different than our parliament is structured. Going back to mass immigration on that, Trump has managed to do that, and he's more patriotic to his own people than our current Prime Minister. Our Prime Minister at the moment has been more travelling and globe-trotting, while domestically our country is on its knees and falling apart. And he's more concerned about looking Churchillian on the international stage, when actually the guy is a complete joke of a man. He has done nothing for this country, for our benefit, for the people of this country. If you looked at his promises pre-manifesto, most of them he's reneged on, he's gone back on. The man is a complete and utter disgrace. And apart from Tony Blair, I've always hailed as the worst Prime Minister we've ever had, Keir Starmer is fast becoming the worst Prime Minister I've ever seen in my lifetime. Now, on the mentioned the legal framework around the European Convention of Human Rights, the issue that we have here is we do have judges in the Supreme Court. And these judges are hand-selected and picked, and they're biased and they're far-left progressives. And that is why people like Lucy Connolly, Tommy Robinson and many others have been given harsh sentences they should never have had because of political bias. And
Tommy Robinson! Oh, Tommy Robinson!
Okay, let's make sure we're all in on the 30th of September, right? And on the ACCHR, what we have is we have the Attorney General, I don't many know this, Lord Hamer, who actually helped Keir Starmer become Prime Minister. He was part of his campaign, he put hundreds of thousands of pounds into helping his leadership, and when he became the Prime Minister, what did he do? He appointed Lord Hamer as the Attorney General. So you can see it's a backhander here and a backhander there, they're all in it together. We need to be more patriotic, not just here in Wales, because I know we're really strong here in Wales, aren't we? We're really well, proud of being Welsh, right? Cymru and Biff. We are part of a United Kingdom, okay? We're together in this fight. And I think Catherine mentioned the left. Well, look what's happening to Jeremy Corbyn at the moment with the new party. Well, what's he called again? Third party? Our party? Jezbollah party, that's what I'm going to call it, Jezbollah party. They've got 280,000 signed up to a newsletter, great party. It's free, yes, that's signed up, it's absolutely free. I've actually joined myself actually, so I can go along and support a mass. Anyway, so I do believe that, but you know what, I'll tell you something, I'll pass the mic over.
It is.
We are winning, folks. Don't be deceived in thinking that we're losing this fight, that our voice is not being heard. Our voice is being heard. Mark my words, mainstream media don't like us. We now have, citizen journalism, we have independent journalists. Somebody were here today, Jeff Ferguson is here, and there's others here, Voice of Wales. So thank you, Jeff Taylor. Sorry, Jeff Taylor, sorry, Jeff. That's my being done over there. Sorry, mate.
You're running on the podcast circuit, over.
So I just want to say, and I would see from Lander Saints this year, we've been pushing stuff out as well. So for all of you here, it's your voice. Use your social media. Use your platform. Don't think that because the establishment is such a big machine, they can't be defeated. They can. If you remember, with the Together Declaration a few years ago, we went to Parliament with a petition of 360,000 signatures and we stopped vaccine passports in this country and we stopped mandatory vaccines for NHS workers. So people power works. So let's make sure we work together on the common ground and the common ground and the values.
He was reformed, but he's now left. He's now Advance UK. Because we don't like reform.
Yes, we do. Well, I look.
Can I have the charger, please?
What's that with Greece turning back and all the migrants and refugees?
Advance UK is Ben Habib, and he used to be part of Reform, and it's wrong.
There's another party going on as well. It's been...
Look at the way they treat the France.
Jeremy Corbyn's to set up a new one.
Right.
Trumped up charges.
Jeremy Corbyn set up, but we're not with Jeremy Corbyn. We're with Ben Habib and Advance UK.
So Jeremy Corbyn
Just set up a new one. Labour, Conservatives.
That's what he is.
No, he's not. He's Ben Habib.
Ben Habib.
Right, so here's Richard Taylor, and Richard Taylor is under Advance UK, and the leader of that is Ben Habib.
Do
you get it? You there yet?
Yeah. Look at the way the online Safety Act has been implemented already. It's an absolute disgrace. And they probably got the idea from the European Union.
They're not here. They're not represented.
So I actually think what is happening at the moment is the so-called tough starts. It's basically a bit of virtue signalling until the elections are over, I should say, and leading on from there, they're going to return to their old ways. And let me also very quickly say as well, it surely can't be in France's interest to allow all those illegal migrants to send Calais.
You don't?
Some are armed with Kalashnikovs. Certainly many are armed with knives and clubs.
Right, I'm gonna.
It's really not in France's best interest for that to go on. I just think this is purely a punishment victim for leaving the European Union.
Well, here he is.
It's cynical, it's nasty, it's what you can't expect from chances like that.
Our next question is from internationally renowned podcaster Jeff Ferguson.
question I got is based on the fact that since 1963, things are too expensive, from housing to everything else, to energy, to sort of to make us having families, children are our future. We have them, we have no guidance for now on. And we have to have more children in this country, and anyone who is not watching will swap anyone.
I mean, the first thing is that this is not just Britain. Most people don't realise that the Caribbean, almost all of it, is massively below reproductive sustainable rate. Nepal is now below sustainable rate. So countries that you think are having lots of children are having no one. And you go to places like Jamaica, it's extraordinary that everybody is old. The baby mama is a thing of the past. So this is a global phenomenon. That's the first thing. Japan giving away houses. Korea is way worse than anywhere else. It's about 0.9. So this is a big issue, but I would retract the idea that we need migrants, irrespective of our birth rate. Japan, Korea, Nepal, Jamaica are not importing migrants. Japan has started and has started to have problems already, but we do not need migrants. If anything, we need less people. We've got AI coming to mow your lawn, to clean your carpet, to do absolutely everything. So yes, it would be nice, but yes, we get rid of 10 million people and people would have houses and probably the birth rate would naturally go up.
Is it any surprise that young people aren't having many children, if any, when all that's pumped out of them by the legacy media is that everything's doom and gloom?
I don't know what he's saying to
You're
me.
the problem. You're polluting the planet, you're causing global warming, which is absolute nonsense. And the planet's going to burn up in 10 years' time anyway, so there's no point bringing children into the world. I mean, we need to stop pumping that propaganda at the younger generation. One in 3 under 25s think the world's going to end in a fireball in the next 10 years. That's what they've pumped into their vulnerable minds. It is a problem across the whole world of replacement level of reproduction, and Viktor Orban in Hungary is now paying families to have more children. The answer, exactly as Catherine said, is not unskilled migrants coming over. With the rise of AI and robotics, they're the first jobs that we will not need, and these people will have nothing to do but reproduce. And the shocking thing is that the majority, the biggest part of births in this country now are children born to mothers who were not born in this country themselves. We do need to have sustainable levels of reproduction.
Well, thank you, Andrew. The first thing to say, it takes a community to raise a child. And the government has been very intent on division, divide, conquer, dividing communities. We've seen this happen. And there's an overarching principle here that I believe is going on as part of the globalist agenda, which is depopulation. They're using the guise of climate change, as Andrew's mentioned, destroying the planet. And if there's less people on the planet, then we will not extract the reserves or resources that our planet has to exist and breathe. This is false, this is a lie. This is a deceitful agenda by governments across the world, and superpowers and international bodies across the world, and the globalists, because they think by depopulation, less people on the earth, then there's less strain on the earth as well. I'm also very concerned about our children and their safety. My son, who's here today, he's at the back somewhere, he's filming. And, I speak to I've got 5 children. My children know more about politics than I realised. And if you actually sit down and take the time to speak to your children about what's going on around the world, they actually do know. But I wouldn't give them the right to vote at 16, just I'd drop that in. But they actually know what's going on. And I think it's a question of educating our young people, educating our children, letting them know what's going on. And they're awake. They're awake to a lot of what is going on. And going back to the question that Jeff raised there, not Jim, Jeff raised there, about since 1973 the birth population has gone down. There's a whole number of reasons for that, and I believe some of that's to do with the vaccines. I know that we have a fantastic campaigner here, Andrew Bridgen, who's done an amazing job on fighting back against the establishment and the big pharma companies that have been doing this. I do believe that the vaccine that people may not be aware of has had an adverse effect on people's health, and it also on birth control, because again it goes back to the globalist agenda. They want depopulation across the globe, and that's all I'm going to say about that. Oh, by the way, they want you to own. They want you to. That's the one. They want you to own nothing and be happy. Happy. Yeah.
Absolutely. So my way of dealing with our underpopulation birth rate of British people, 5 million people have to be deported in this country, either voluntarily or compulsory. So 5 to 10 million have to be deported. The easy one is 1 to 2 million illegal immigrants. Then you've got the people in prisons. But there are ways via our visa system you can get rid of these people. What the Danes do is, you get a work permit, or we get a permit to be in Denmark for 5 years. Because at the end of 5 years, they work out how much you pay in taxes, how much you cost the state, there's a cost benefit, and if you don't cross the line, you're deported. And when you bear in mind, there's something like, I think it's about 5% of our welfare budget goes to people who aren't born in this country. They have to go. I'm sorry. I'm not in the mood of bleeding heart left living lawyers. No. These people affect the women and young girls. There's violence. There's all kinds of things that many of these migrants get up to, disproportionately to the people who are disproportionately to British people. And we have to get tough. We can't pussyfoot around. I'm sorry, you're out on your ear roll. Goodbye. 5 to 10 million, and that will give us space for younger people to get married, own their own property, or rent their own property, and have a family of their own. That's the way to deal with our birth rate.
Yeah.
Can I just apologise for the problem with the microphone? I did tell Dan not to buy the PA system from Home Not 8, but
I thought he got it from T-New.
So clearly we got one of them left-wing microphones.
Dan from VoiceBox just sent me an important message, and I can't access it in here because of the signal. So excuse me while I disappear from the stage for a couple of minutes.
How's it going? So in my opinion, the only illegal migration is all planned. I think Keir Starmer's just a puppet, and he's working for people outside of this country in World Economic Forum, and they're all for open borders. And to me, this is all planned. So this is really easy to stop. The people with common sense know how to stop what's happening, and yet it's not happening. What can we do to dismantle their plan and try and save ourselves then from this invasion?
You're absolutely right. It doesn't. At the last probably 3 or 4 elections, all the political parties know that the message they get from all of the electorate is, we want an end to mass migration, and instead of that, we've only ever got increases. You remember the Conservative Party you elected in 2019? They pledged to get immigration down from the hundreds of thousands to the tens of thousands. It actually went to over 1.5 million. The only reason the net, it was quite the net migration figure, and it's about 1 million, so there's extra 1 million people in our country every year, either through illegal migration or legal means. And the only reason that's 1 million, not 1.5 million, is you've got 500,000 British citizens giving up on the country and moving out. what an indictment. But all the political parties know, but they're all in the Unity Party, and they'll promise you something before the election, and every one of them, it's above their pay grade to stop this problem. It's a problem affecting the UK, it's affecting Europe, it was affecting America until President Trump came in there and took a firm hand. And that shows that with the right political will, it can be done. But I promise you now, there's not one political party on offer to you at the moment that is willing to make that stand.
So have you got any ideas?
I would argue it's even worse than that, because it's not just British people leaving, it's people who have obtained British passports of other nationalities. They then decide that they will go and live in Jamaica until they're 60, and then they suddenly need a heart bypass surgery, and they arrive back. We have created this diaspora of British passports. Nobody knows, because we don't check exit visas or exit permits, how many people outside the country with dual nationality are sitting with British passports. These people can arrive back at any time, claim housing, benefits and healthcare. And this carries on. So, I mean, my view, as Andrew said, is that we have a diabolical situation at the moment. Everybody has to do whatever they can, whether that is going to a migrant protest, attending this, going on social media, harassing their MPs, going to the Houses of Parliament. Every small person, every person who makes an effort, if we all did it, I think it was Paul Weston said, there are 30 million men in this country. If everybody did it, we would sort this problem out.
I think it's one of those things where we're looking for political solutions to civil problems, and we've seen across our country and currently seeing and will continue to see civil unrest like we've never seen before. It's going to happen a lot more because people are fed up. They've lost all trust in the political system. They've lost trust certainly in Keir Starmer. I hear you very, very loud and clear. Keir Starmer, but our country has been decimated, and the reason for that is this: our parliament's built on Christian democracy. It was formed under that, our heritage and our culture. And what we've got is we've been invaded by different ideologies and cultures and religions that are leaked in, and they're watering down out of the fabric of our society and our historical story. We're having to apologise for the past. That has to stop. That has to stop. You know, as a nation, we've done a lot of good around the country, around the world, in the Commonwealth. Yes, there were mistakes made, we all know that. But look at what we've done. We were great once, and I believe we can be great again. But it's going to take people, as Catherine has mentioned, 80 million people to stand up and say, we have had enough. And see, people have said to me, Richard, protests don't work. Believe me, they do work. What works is you write into your MP, you write into your MS here in the Wales, you write them, let them know how you feel. You might not think it makes a difference, you can have an impact because they're afraid of losing this and the next election when term is up. Yeah, maybe most of them we got, especially here in Wales, got out of the Senate, but anyway. Andrew mentioned there's no party. Well, Andrew, I'm going to disagree with you on that one. Because I believe that, as many of you know, there are questions around this, not going to come from the floor in a few moments. Advance UK is a brand new political party. We have not yet registered with the Electoral Commission, and there are reasons which I will give for you if you wish to know that. Ben Habib, who was kicked out severely by reform by Nigel, and so was Rupert Lowe, and many of the senior members, and myself included. I wasn't kicked out, I resigned under constitutional reasons because I didn't believe in the trajectory of the party. Because the party, you know, reform is Farage, and Farage is reform. He owns the shares. No. We just won't do I'm not here for Farage's use of, yeah. We've been infiltrated, and I think what we've done is we've lost our identity as a country, as a nation. We've completely lost the plot. And this is because of all the left-wing progressivism, the religions attached. Islam is one of the greatest threats to our nation right now. Now, I know that we call all sorts of things for this. I predicted this many years ago before I got involved in politics. As a preacher, as a pastor of several churches, I told my congregations 20 odd years ago, the greatest threat we're going to face in this country will not be political, but it will come from Islam. And I'm seeing it happen before my very eyes. They're even gathering together, members of parliament who were elected as Labour MPs or independents have now come together to form a coalition, and they are pro-Islamic, and they don't want nothing to do with our culture,
Claire.
our heritage, and
That's my daughter's
they
name.
want to completely destroy it. They want to alter our education.
My name,
Our
Zach.
children,
Zach.
we're teaching in
Zach.
schools.
Nice to meet you, fella.
That's my grandson's name.
Sexual children, when they say
That's
children,
it.
there's 9 to get married.
And
This is
that's
more
Her son, your daughter, her son.
I fried that. Small world,
My
innit?
grandson is Zach.
Well, thank
Fair
you,
play.
Richard. That's a nice segue into my favourite
Fried that is. Small world.
Islam and
Small world,
Islamophobia. Verse 4:34 of the
My
Quran
name is Zach.
says that if a wife sins against you,
Sorry about Billy Liar, but
Love it, man.
he's well known.
do you know, I don't know if you saw.
What do you call him? Billy Liar?
Billy.
You know him well, man. I've known him all my life.
Robert was a preacher who
Yeah, but
asked
he's
Muslims
the lead
about
pool
domestic violence.
champion, isn't he?
You know, I'm sorry, he's
What
in
happened?
plain English.
No, this
in the
club,
Quran.
you're the chairman, right?
Any Muslim husband
The chairman
who beat his wife
was sending him
is
somewhere
she
which
sex
cost like
from
£3,000
his
to the
from his way
club.
of life.
Oh, you don't do that.
And also as
The
well,
members,
if you
it's
go
the
to
members'
go
money in
to
it.
Quran
So if you want to go
4:24,
play pool somewhere, but
it
go
is
away and
also
play
the
pool. I've
permission
been to Yorkie
of
or
a
Aberystwyth
Muslim
or
man
whatever,
to have
or even I've
sexual
been
intercourse
Warrington in England.
with a
What are you
woman
doing?
who is a
Speaking of
non-Muslim
You
with her
don't spend that money,
consent.
no. You
or
would if he
not.
was playing someone like
It's
Stephen Hendry or
plain
Steve Davis.
English is
It's
written.
not.
Yeah.
Chairman don't work anymore
reason
now. He's been
you have
sacked.
500,000
But they're all about the
white
Muppets, man.
working-class girls,
They're not
30%
realistic.
white working-class girls, 3% were Sikh.
But he's a lovely bloke. Like,
Because
have a laugh with him.
and if you
I
read
enjoy him.
That's good.
transcripts
He's
of
all right.
the trials,
But
original
they don't come
the words that were said by the judge.
You leave him?
Yeah, it's
Just
2 minutes, sorry.
Tina Lansdale, God bless her. She sentenced a Pakistani Muslim rapist who abused two 14-year-old girls for 3 years. And she said to him, you have showed the girls not one shred of remorse, for he was jailed for 33 years. Now, the thing is, particularly those who weren't born here, people from Afghanistan, Afghanistani men are 22.3 times more likely to be convicted of sexual assault and rape than the average Brit. So moving on from that, we live in a world where we have
Turkey and
reported
England.
hundreds
You
of
went to
thousands of
Turkey
people who
and on your
do
back.
not only do not share our culture, they have an aggressive attitude to our culture as well. Yeah, and then to finish off, we really should not be allowing these people here, and we really should be supporting these people back to where they came from as soon as possible.
Fantastic. Well, we're going to move on to our next question, just to give you advance warning. But before we do, I have 2 public service announcements. Firstly, the club have asked me to ask whoever the owner of the orange dinghy in the car park is, can you move it? We're stopping 3 other boats getting in. And if you see Steph walking around with a pint pot, I promise you she's not touting for business, she is selling. And this is your last chance to buy a raffle ticket. Okay, next question. We're going to take a little trip down to a place called Epping. So the unfolding row in Epping Forest, and as we've seen in the last 48 hours now at Canary Wharf, has reignited concerns about migrant hotel placements. Local councils and residents are increasingly frustrated at being sidelined while the Home Office continues to operate with absolute zero transparency. My first question to the panel is, are migrant hotels being used to bypass local democracy? And does this signal the collapse of a coherent immigration planning strategy?
Rapists shouldn't be allowed in a country.
Sorry, can you move slightly? Sorry.
Well, migrant hotels are being used to reward people who've broken the law and broken into our country. The first thing they did when they entered our country was something illegal. And I tried to push the last Conservative government to make it in the law that anyone who came to this country illegally would never ever be allowed to have a British passport under any circumstances as a deterrent from doing that. Now, when I was, until the last election, the MP for North West Leicestershire and an independent, and speaking about things the government didn't like me speaking about, at one stage in 2023, there are 7 constituencies in the county of Leicestershire. Mine was only one of them, North West Leicestershire. They had put 51% of all the migrants in hotels in Leicestershire all in my seat. I played up, I spoke about it every chance I got in the House of Commons. I embarrassed the government, and before the last election, they closed down every single one of those hotels. But they'd only moved the problem somewhere else. And I used to turn up at those hotels unannounced and introduce myself. I'm the MP. The security guards used to come out and say, "What do you want while you're in the car park?" I said, I'm the MP, I want to see what's going on here. I was never ever allowed inside one of them, and the guards told me openly, "We are here to keep you out, Mr. Bridgen, we're not here to keep the migrants in the hotel, we're here to protect them from you." I don't know what's going on, but they are all, they're predominantly 86-90% men, they are of fighting age. When you're running away from war, you send your women and children to safety, not yourself. When you're going to war, you go on your own, and they're coming here on their own.
So I'm going to say something controversial, and that is that I think that it's actually quite a good idea that they put people in Epping, because it's the first time that the white middle class actually know what is going on. I've spoken to 2 people in the last 2 days. One of them was a guest of mine, and I had a conversation about people going to jail for Twitter, and he said, "Oh, I have no idea." And the next one was a dentist who is relatively well informed, who probably reads the newspaper and hasn't got a clue about rapes. I gave him the rape statistics, and he told me it was just new reporting. So one of the problems we've got is that there are places like where Andrew was yesterday in Totnes, in Kingsbridge, in Salcombe, in the middle of Norfolk, where nothing's happening. Life carries on. You go to Waitrose, you go to Sainsbury's, your children go to a nice school with 1 or 2 migrants who are causing no problem at all because their mother is a consultant in a hospital, and life has not changed. And this is the problem we've got. Until people wake up, this is going to carry on. And actually, the government is doing us a favour by this dispersal, because for the first time they're putting people in Cromer, and those people in Cromer are going to see those guys harassing girls in the park and in the car parks. And every single migrant hotel needs a protest outside it. Every single one. And that's the only way we are going to get any attention, is when the women and the middle class start to support us.
Right, so, absolutely. That's right. Yeah, I know.
Just make a noise, innit?
We are the blueprint. We are the blueprint.
So I know the one up Tonlevel, is owned by the new flats owned by Birmingham City Council.
Yeah, let's watch the language.
They're building all these flats. They're owned by Birmingham Yeah, so you know the cemetery in Tonlevel? There's flats on the right.
The ship, if I go back to the question,
Alexandra Jones from Thompson.
I think one of the statements many of you will be familiar with is if we stop the benefits, we stop the boats.
I am.
If they put them in an Ibis hotel, they probably wouldn't come. But the reality is this, is that a lot of these hotels are owned by big corporate companies who are being paid millions by the government. Now that needs not just an investigation and judicial review, that needs to be looked at. And those companies offering their hotels for astronomical amount of money, which happens to any part of the hotel, they should be prosecuted. They should be prosecuted. Isn't it interesting?
Yeah, I do.
All of those, and I want to give a big shout out to every mother, every father, and every brother, sister, auntie and uncle, who right now who are standing outside every hotel, like we did here in Stanley Park Hotel, many of you here. I want to say a huge big thank you to you. By the way, if you're a mother, a father, an auntie and uncle, a brother, a sister, an ordinary citizen in this country who works hard and pays your taxes, and you're concerned for your community and your children, you are classed as far right. There is no such thing. There is no such thing as far right. That is an illusion. They want you to believe that. That is not true. We're neither left, we're neither right. We are either right or we are wrong. And history will tell us that.
I never felt like that. You might miss
The blueprint, and it certainly is. And I think that the country's waking up. As Catherine has mentioned, getting into these hotels is very important. And have you noticed how the media are covering it?
Yes.
What they're doing is, the propaganda arm of the government, they're making out that all these people that are protesting outside these hotels are there to cause trouble. All I've seen is mothers and fathers and concerned parents because they're afraid for their children and the future of their children. And it's about time that the government start listening to the people that elected them in the first place. Because we put them there to protect our children, to protect our communities, and they're failing us, and that's why Keir Starmer needs to go.
They're all paedophiles. They're all pedos. Fucking lot of them.
Every one of them.
There are so many missed opportunities within the government to end this madness, and they refuse to do it. Angela Rayner, by the way, posted about having an asylum seeker every single channel within the city. And by the way, also, I believe the biggest enemy of the white working class women, of middle class white women. They have no empathy for the plight of somebody walking through the park and a migrant walks up to them, sexually harasses them, sexually assaults them, or even rapes them. They have no empathy, they have no understanding. They really have to go. When it comes to bypassing local democracy, if they couldn't do that on the current systems, they would invent a way of doing it. By the way, having to be fair, it's more sort of working class company gigs that make good, working class company women make good, rather than true middle class. There are some. But the other one is which is middle class. And you should have seen the way the people who live locally objected to this silent hotel in the area. One of the other things that I really do object to is the cover up from the government. You know, the Southport leaving, I've read some information, the cover up from the Labour Party still
What do you think the
goes
Secretary's
Indeed.
Exactly.
Exactly. And I'm sorry I have to leave at the moment. The Labour government is trying to explain the situation. So, like on the Online Safety Act, they can send the old bidding with riot shields and helmets and what have you. Big crap out of people. It's a sense of people in jail like this. I'm sorry, I look upon Kirsten he's a danger to this country, and he has to go.
Can I just pick up on something each one of those panelists mentioned, and Andrew, I want to come to you first, being the former parliamentarian. Given the mass failure in their immigration policies, do you think local councils should compete with replacements?
If local councils there to represent the views of the local people, then of course they should represent those views. I'm not really aware. I mean, there are some people outside who say refugees welcome. It doesn't say illegal migrants, but I mean, you know, if they want them, I'm sure we can locate them. What are you doing at office? Listen to that song.
A question, do you even know the postcode? Do you know the name of that street? The last street? You don't even know where you are. So that's not Ireland, that's Hughes, that's CFO, ATC. So you don't even know where you are, do you? He's like, refugee.
I think they're called arsonists, aren't they? Something to do.
I'm all for helping people out, we have all the years.
Very shocking.
We're not single fucking age men.
From Ireland. I was over in Ireland a few weeks ago at a protest. They are getting hammered in the migration crisis more than even the UK. The Irish Parliament has just passed a law. Bear in mind that people celebrate Irish culture on Paddy's Day all over the world. It's now a crime for an Irish person to promote Irish culture over anybody else's culture. That is absolutely unbelievable. If we can get away with it, we'll be bringing that in here as well.
Steve, I don't know.
Whether you believe it or not, we call it far right or not, it's not far right, it's concern. All it is concern.
It's that passport. And I calculated that a British passport is worth between 1 million and 2 million pounds for a 25-year-old young guy from Bangladesh. We're talking about chain migration. We're talking about a lifetime possible benefit, and even without that, it works. So even if you stop benefits, you wouldn't stop this problem. You will only stop this problem when you stop issuing new British passports. And it's all about passports. Because if we hadn't brought in passports in Bradford and Rotherham, we wouldn't be having these problems now. We would have deported these people who have just left because they would have been on visas like Dubai. And that's the problem. So we aren't going to solve at a local level any of these issues until we solve the national level and the passport issue. That for me is the crux of it. Dual nationality and giving out British passports like confetti. It's not immigration per se. You know, Dubai and Singapore have high levels of immigration, but you can't stay there 8 seconds without a job or overstaying your visa.
Rich, before you come in on this whole thing, just to go back on something that you said, we have a massive problem that we're not talking about when we deal with the issue of immigration, of overstayers on visas. When you look at London, for example,
Professor of what? Professor of what?
Some of the Afro-Caribbean
oh, yeah.
ethnicities, There are hundreds, if not thousands, of people
Hello, my
coming into the country legally on visas and never leaving. So how do we address that problem as well?
Yeah, if I'd go back to Catherine on that, but I would say on giving local councils the power to determine what happens with migrants in their communities is very difficult given the fact that many of our local councils have failed us miserably. Many of those councils, especially in Wales, the Welsh Government, calling us a nation of sanctuary, and that has been absolutely appalling. And the Welsh Government, Welsh League in particular,
He's next.
local elections just recently did very well. And a bunch of teenagers now in council elections budgets of millions of pounds, have got more life experience, don't know what the OBR, they think it's a computer game, they don't know how politics works, and expecting them to run local councils. Now I come from professional television with more powers. Do we give all of those powers to local councils? I wouldn't personally think that would be a good idea. I think it should be, as Catherine mentioned, it's a national issue. But of course, those within local constituencies and council wards should have their voices heard. But they don't get their voices heard. And they should have their voices heard. And those that elect them should represent them. And I believe on the situation with Wales declaring itself the nation of sanctuary was the worst thing we've ever done in this country. An absolute disgraceful decision by the Welsh Government. And Mark Drakeford, oh, don't get me started on Mark Drakeford. I know he's running the finance committee. He's spending taxpayers' money
No, before you
on the
leave,
biggest virtue
can you give him his bread and his phone number?
Let's not forget, Welsh in our public services, because we have not got industries in this country anymore. We've been deindustrialised in this country. And that's because we've suffered in 2 decades of Welsh labour. And I'm afraid devolution in Wales has not worked and isn't working for the people. So giving powers back to local council leadership, I would be very suspicious about.
As a journalist, one of the things I in this country, the cut-off point for being an ethnic Jewish represents only 1% of migrants actually pays, earns, taxes. The federal government in Germany, after work with encouraging all migrants from Middle East and North Africa to come in. The German Federal Ministry found that 68% of them were functionally illiterate, even in their own language. These people are of poor education, and they will never ever pay their way in society. They will always be.
Eleanor Morgan is his bit on the side. He told me to tell
And it is us who will pay for that. And
not really, darling, not really. He's joking.
No, I wasn't. The Dutch disassociated to it, and the lifetime cost of the Somali in the Netherlands was €604,000. A record immigration cost the country
You need to speak to Rich.
125 million.
He'd be the best person. No, I trust you, but what I mean is, you speak to him because he can make sense.
Very good question.
Didn't adhere to the ECHR, they would fine us. What powers do they have? What powers does they have to enforce those fines? My other question is, well, essentially, are the four of you hopeful for the future? I've got a wife and daughter who can't leave our house in Newport. There's an issue, he's on the street where hotels full of refugees. It does not affect them at all. They can't leave the house, even in the daytime. Are you hopeful for the future?
The legal profession would seek to overturn any government who went against the EHCR. That is what separation of powers between the legislature and the judiciary. And as you know, again, Hungary have said they're not taking any migrants under the European scheme, and they're being fined so many million euros a day. But they think it's worth that to protect their culture. The situation is very similar in Poland. If it's good enough for the Poles, if it's good enough for the Hungarians, surely with the political will it is good enough for us. Is there any hope? Yes, there is, because people are waking up. This government will not be here forever. But I come back to, you need the political will. And I'm not convinced that I've seen a demonstration of any political party we can get behind yet that will have the political will to sort the problem out. But I think it will come before the next election, because if it doesn't, there will be no hope. And I think the British people will rise. The fact that Jeremy Corbyn can set a party up without even having a name and pick up 15% in the polls without any policies. The support you're seeing in the polling is very, very soft. The people really know that none of the political parties on offer at the moment are the solution, because most of them have been part of the problem. They can't be part of the solution.
I actually think we're going to end up with a situation where we divide between Jeremy Corbyn's lot and the Islamists and a Rupert Lowe coalition. And that's what I could see happening in the bigger picture. It's a vision. It doesn't look very optimistic at the moment, but we've seen radical change happen. We saw radical change in Argentina, and everybody laughed at him. And he's had an absolute economic miracle. The same thing we've seen, I think it was Nicaragua, where they basically imprisoned all the drug dealers overnight, 10,000 of them. You get those guys off that street in a day, if the political will was there. We could do this. You know, we saw it done in New York, where pizza people were getting, Giuliani came in, and it was the no smash windows. You know, if you started having corporal punishment, if you shoplift, you're going to get 30 years with no parole. Do you think you'd stop the problem fairly soon? We saw that in Liverpool a while ago in the 50s, where, and I can't remember the name, but a mayor came in and stopped the gangs and knife crime overnight. This stuff can be done if people are serious and the political will is there, and it's getting to the point where things are becoming so awful that somebody is going to appear and sort this stuff out, and it will happen, I think.
Thank you, Catherine. I'm sure we will do a break after this, but I'm running
You're taking a break.
So I'm sure we all could. I just think that what Catherine said is having the political will. We have parties right now who don't have the political will to do it. I'm not using this platform to plug my latest appointment to Advance UK Wales, but I will suffice to say I know that Ben and Rupert are friends, and they do talk, and of course they align on a number of issues that are very important, on sovereignty, on the freedom of speech, the nation state, and equality under the law. All core principles, actually, that will give our country a safe chance of winning it back again. We have to take back full sovereignty. That means there is no interference into our parliament, into our democracy from the super international powers, from the WHO, from the WEF, from the UN, from the EU. Our parliament should be run by our politicians and not be dictated to by unelected bureaucrats across Europe and across the world. It is our parliament that belongs to you, the people, and does not belong to them.
Stephen just said, I'm glad you're back. He said, I've been missing you.
If we do not solve the problems in this
I'm
country,
not.
She knows I'm saying it.
I used to
She knows I don't tell
call
lies.
it civil unrest.
Yeah, you said he didn't tell lies.
But David Betts is a professor of urban warfare at St. John's College, along with Tim
Alright, what's your
Stanley,
question?
who's a journalist and historian. We are heading towards mass.
When are they having a break?
Not only
If it is, when is the raffle?
but also other places, probably most other countries in Europe that have big populations. Yeah, I'm not joking. You know, this country is now a tinderbox, as I mentioned before. People are rightly and genuinely angry. I urge you all to stay within the law as much as you can. Absolutely. But you know, I'm sorry. I was going to say now.
In a minute after these questions.
We tried voting. We tried sending letters to our MPs. You know, we put out our social media posts. We have tried everything within the rule of law to change the attitudes on immigration. I've actually done some research. Let me reference a guy called Dr. Marcus Collins, who is a social historian. And if you go back to the 1950s when opinion polls began on immigration, it's been remarkably consistent. 70% of the population of this country does not want mass immigration or immigration in any level. I'm talking about 1950, after the Windrush boat landed in 1948. 1950, the first opinion poll was done. Anyway, and then the last thing I want to leave you with, when Enoch pounded his Rivers of Blood speech in 1968,
He wasn't strong enough.
a bit better pansy, wasn't he? But suffice it to say that the two opinion polls done at the time, 67% of the British population supported him in one poll and 74% in the other. I would guess today those figures may have risen even further.
Thank you, Dave, and thank you. That brings us to the end of part one of today's debate. We're going to take
No time at all.
about a 10-minute break so everybody can stretch their legs, freshen up, go to the toilet. And we will be back with part two, where we'll be pricing the topic of everybody's favourite political party in Wales as we turn our attention to Welsh Labour. We'll see you all in 10 minutes.
All our chat will